Tanzania election 2025. President Samiu Suluhu Al-Hassan wins disputed election amidst Didi protest. Hello and welcome back to Discovery Learning Hub. Today we're diving into the 2025 presidential election in Tanzania. What happened, why it matters, and what the implications could be for Tanzania and the region. Let's get started. Tanzania, a country in East Africa with over 60 years of independence, recently held a presidential election that has drawn global attention. On Wednesday, date of voting, the country went to the polls in what was billed as a contest for both the presidency and the parliament. The results. The Electoral Commission announced that President Samiu Suluhu Hassan was declared the winner, an overwhelming victory, receiving approximately 97.66% of the vote. With that, she dominated every constituency. Key context and issues. However, the election did not take place in a vacuum. Several major opposition figures and parties were excluded from running. For example, the main opposition party Chadema was barred from participation. The exclusion of these rivals triggered days of violent protests in major cities. Witnesses reported tear gas, gunshots, and government buildings set alight. In addition, reports emerged of heavy restrictions on mobile internet and social media access during and after the vote, perhaps aimed at limiting the spread of protest or dissent. Rights groups say at least 10 people were killed in 3 cities, though the opposition claims hundreds. Analysts say there was a campaign of harassment and intimidation targeting young people, especially Generation Z, who feel left behind. President Hassan's reaction and message. Following the announcement, President Hassan appeared in the administrative capital, Dodoma, to accept the winner's certificate from electoral authorities. In her speech she said, "Now the election is over. It's time to unite our country and not destroy what we've built over more than 6 decades. She emphasized that all security agencies would be used to ensure the country remains safe. Criticisms and democracy questions. But not everyone is convinced the election was fair. The main opposition party called the outcome a mockery of the democratic process and asked for a fresh election under credible oversight. International observers and rights groups have flagged concerns. Some say the scale of the crackdown and the reported deaths mean the polls cannot be considered credible. For example, one analyst noted this was far from the norms Tanzania had been known for, citing the heavy security response, protest suppression, and exclusion of opposition. Why this matters? So why does this matter? Several reasons. Tanzania is a key state in East Africa. Politically stable leadership, or its absence, affects regional dynamics. With a large young population and rising aspirations, how the next generation views governance, fairness and inclusion may determine social stability. If the suggestion of restricted democracy and civil liberties becomes entrenched, it could affect foreign investment, aid flows, and Tanzania's reputation internationally. And from a learning and civics perspective, this election raises important questions about how democracy works, what counts as a fair vote, and how citizens, institutions, and the international community engage with such events. What to watch next? Looking ahead, here are some points to keep an eye on. Will the opposition continue to press for another election or legal challenge? And how will the government respond? Will there be investigations into the alleged protest fatalities, internet shutdowns and exclusion of candidates? How will President Hassan's government deliver on promises of unity and peace while addressing dissent and young citizens' frustrations? Finally, how will foreign governments, regional bodies such as the African Union or the United Nations respond if concerns about democratic standards persist? Closing. That brings our overview of Tanzania's 2025 presidential election. I hope this gives you a clearer picture of what happened, why it matters, and what to watch going forward. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to Discovery Learning Hub. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming coverage of global events and learning-focused deep dives. Thanks so much for watching. Let's keep learning together. See you next time.